Hello everyone, welcome to our channel Codis Arcade. In this tutorial, we will be starting a new topic which is very important. The topic is Introduction to Object-Oriented Programming in Java, which is also known as OOPS concepts in Java. Before starting the video, I would like to request you people to please like and share our videos with your friends and family, and also please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you receive notifications regarding our latest updates, and also you do not miss out on our further uploads. Thank you. So as I said, today's topic is Introduction to Object-Oriented Programming Concepts in Java. So without wasting any more time, let's get started. This video will be a basic and brief introduction so as to how you people can start with the object-oriented concepts in Java. And in our further videos, we will be digging deep into the important concepts in OOPS in Java, like the pillars of object-oriented programming, which are abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and so on. So right now, the first thing or the first question that is in our mind is what is OOPS, right? Okay. So object-oriented programming is a method used for implementing a program using classes and objects. We can also say that object-oriented programming is known as the core of Java. Object-oriented programming organizes a program around objects and well-defined interfaces. So we can also say that object-oriented programming can be expressed as data controlling for accessing the code in a better way. In this type of approach, the programmers define the data type of a data structure and the operations that are applied to the particular data structure. So, in order to summarize, what is OOPS concept in Java? So, we can say that OOPS concepts in Java improves code readability and reusability by defining a Java program efficiently. I hope now you have got a better idea. So the main principles or pillars of object-oriented programming are abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, and polymorphism. We will be learning a lot more about these four pillars or principles of Java in detail, which are the features of the object-oriented programming concepts. So these concepts that I told just now aim to implement real-world entities in our Java programs. This implies software development and maintenance by using some of the following important concepts, which are, let me just type it here, class, then object, and then abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, then finally, last but not the least, encapsulation. Okay, now let us look at them one by one. So what are classes? Classes are like real-world entities for creating objects. The collection of objects is said to be a class. So whenever we talk about a class, it is the main entity which will have objects. So a collection of many objects will produce or constitute a class. Classes don't consume any space in the memory. Class is also called a template of an object. So classes have members which can be fields. Let me just mention it there for you. Fields, methods, and constructors. Okay. So a class declaration consists of modifiers, the class name, superclass, interfaces, the body of the class, and we should also simply remember that a class keyword is used to create a class. Okay, this was a brief description about what classes are actually. We will be learning more about classes in our further videos, and now I will be showing you a real world example and a program so that you know more about classes objects. Now let us move on to the second one, which is objects. What is an object in Java? An entity that has state and behavior is known as an object. For example, like let us take some real world examples: chair, bike, marker, table, ball, bat, etc. It can be physical or it may be logical. So, by that I mean that it can be tangible or intangible. So if I need to give an example of a intangible object, it can be a banking system. So I have made a class on bank in Java. As you can see here, we will be going through this as soon as I finish with the theoretical part so that you understand more about this thing. So now, as I told, an object is the content inside a class. Objects are actually instances which belong to a particular class. So an object will have three characteristics. The characteristics are the state, the behavior, and the identity. So let us know more about this when I go on to the example or the program. And here, as you can see, I have four more points, which are abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, and encapsulation. These are actually the pillars of OOPS concepts. We will be discussing more about this in our future classes. Right now, let me show you how you can create a class in Java. So as you can see here, I have created a class bank.java, as you can see here, and because of this C, you can see that it is actually a class. So now I want to tell you one more thing. Classes are inside packages. So a package will contain many classes. Similarly, many different packages will contain many different classes. In this one, what I have done is I have created a class called bank, as you can see here. And this is the access modifier, which tells that what type of class is this. If it is public, that means it can be accessed by all the people. If it is private, it means that it cannot be accessed by everyone. So that is the difference between public and private access modifiers. We will be talking more about this in our future classes. And then we have all the attributes of the properties here, as you can see. So just let me give you a simple brief description. Whenever we talk about a bank as an entity, what will a bank have? A bank will have employees, right? In that case, the employee will have a particular name. Each employee will have a particular name. The employees that I am talking about will be the objects inside the bank. And this is a common entity. There may be many banks. It doesn't matter. So what I have done is, here I have created a class bank where there will be lots and lots of employees. So if I create a main entity, I can create many number of objects which will be individual employees. So therefore, I have defined the characteristics of a particular object or an employee which will reside inside this class. So as you can see here, this is the data type string. This is the characteristics, which is name or the properties. Then again, this is the second one, which is the employee ID, because if I have an employee, he or she will definitely have an employee ID, right? And the data type I have taken is int. And then the department. Each employee will work in a particular department. That's why it is of the string data type. So these are the properties of each object that we will be creating in future. Now, let us skip this part right now. I will come to this afterwards because otherwise you will be confused because it has this dot name, this dot employee ID and this dot department. We don't need to worry about that. Now, let me tell you something simple. We have setter methods and getter methods. Setter method means, as you can see here, setter means we will be giving a set of parameters to the properties that we have defined here. That means, say set name, what it will do is whenever we create an object or an employee in this bank class, we will be providing the data, which is the name, the employee ID, and then the department. So this set name method will actually assign the name to the object or the employee. Similarly, this is the syntax of writing it, as you can see here, public void set name. And inside this, I have this property, which is string is the data type and name is the property or the behavior, as you can see here. Then similarly for employee ID and department also we have to do this. And just because this doesn't return anything, that's why it is void. But in the second case, employee ID is integer and that's why it is int. As you can see here, the data type is int. And as I want everyone to be able to access this, I am using the public modifier. And as I said, it is of the int data type. Therefore, what will happen is I have to use the return statement because this is returning integer values. Similarly, for the set department also, what I have done is just because it is string, we do not need to worry about it. So here the return statement will not be used. If you see here, if I use the return, department, I am getting an error. Let me highlight over this so that I can show you. Cannot return a value from a method with void result type. So the data type here is void. That's why we cannot return it. So this is as simple as that, right? You know about it. So now after that, as I said, this set methods or the setter methods will actually assign the name, the employee ID and the department to a particular object or an instance which we will be creating in this class. Similarly, we have the getter methods. After we have assigned the particular properties, the name, the employee ID and the department, we have to somehow access those information, right? In that case, we use the getter method. It is as simple as that. So what we are doing is, you can see here, public string get name. The name only suggests it. You can see get name, when we use this method, it will fetch the name for us from the class or from the object. After that, you can see here, the second one is get employee ID and it has the integer data type. Similarly, they are just doing one thing. It is returning the name, it is returning the employee ID, and in the third case, get department method is returning the department. So these three methods are actually returning the information stored inside the properties. So this is okay. After that, here I will come later. Let me now go on to this method, public bank, as you can see here. So this is actually called a constructor. Let me just comment it out and write it here. Okay, now you will be thinking, what is a constructor? A constructor is actually a method in Java with the help of which we can assign properties to whichever object we create inside a particular class. So after defining the properties here, as you can see, name, employee ID and department, what we are doing is we have to use the constructor with the help of which we can construct an object or many objects. So this constructor method helps us to create objects in Java. So how we do it? We just simply use the access modifier, either it is public or private, and then similar to the class name, we write the class name here. It should be exactly equal, otherwise it is going to raise errors. So after that, inside the parenthesis, you can see I have all the three characteristics or properties that we have here. As you can see here, string name, int employee ID, and string department. And after that, we have this thing. This dot name equal to name, this dot employee ID equal to employee ID, and this dot department equal to department. This is actually a basic syntax which is used inside the constructor. The this keyword here is actually pointing to the current object or instance which calls this method. So as I told you, constructor is a method, right? Whenever a particular object calls this method, then automatically this keyword will point to that particular object. When I show you actually what I mean, then you will understand it better. So this, just remember it, it is as simple as that. The this keyword here refers to any object that is currently calling this method. So I will show you. Let us go on and see how to create an object in Java inside a class. So after using the set and the get method and defining the class and the body of the class, let us go into the main function as you can see here. So in order to instantiate or create an object, what we can do is, you can see this is the name of the class and this is the new object, say John. Let me just change it, say EMP1. It looks good, right? Because it gives me an idea of what I am trying to do. So let me just refactor it. I will show you how to do it. Right click, refactor. Hold on. Yeah, okay. I will just remove this thing. Yeah. Right click, refactor. And here, if I remove this name, it will be removed everywhere. As you can see here, wherever in my program I have the same data, it will be changed. So you don't have to do it repeatedly. It is a very good feature in IntelliJ IDEA. So what I will type is EMP1. It looks a very good name because it says that this is my first employee. And so what I told was we have to write the name of the class, which is bank, and then we have to write EMP1. It can be any other name. Just to make it simple, I have written it as EMP1. Okay. Then we have to use the new keyword. It means that it is a new instance or object of the class bank. Then inside the parenthesis, we have to assign the attributes or the properties that we defined here. The name, the employee ID, and the department. So you can see John is the name, employee ID is this thing, and department is accounts. And similarly, this is employee 2, and then it is also used with the new keyword, and it says that it is a new object of the bank class having the following properties. The name is Sam, the employee ID is 134, and then the department is front desk. So till now it is okay, and after that let me show you how you can access the methods that we defined here, the get methods. So what I will do is, you can see here emp1.getName. I am using the print statement, and inside that what I have written is emp1.getName. Let me just do it once again for you so that you can get a better idea, because it was written earlier, right? So I will just use the dot operator. As soon as I press dot, you can see I'm getting all the methods that are defined inside the class. So if I use get name, I will get the name. So in this case, you can see I'm using get employee ID. And after that, I'm getting this thing, get department. So if I run this program, I hope to get the name, the employee ID, and the department of the object, which is EMP1. So it should be John 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then accounts. And finally, let me just comment this part out so that I don't confuse you people. Okay, now right click and then I'm running this. Yeah, you can see here, John is the name, this is the employee ID, and this is the accounts. So it is working perfectly. Now let me show you one more thing, how to actually instantiate an object. So I will write the name of the class and then I will write emp3 say is equal to, I will use a new keyword followed by the name of the class bank, and inside the parenthesis I have to provide the three attributes or properties, which are the name, the employee ID, and the department. So let the name be, say, Jane, and the employee ID be 1234, and finally the department be, say, technical department, TCH. That's all. Just to simplify it. Okay. Now I have to give the semicolon. And in order to access data from this, what I will do is I will use SOUT tab, and in this I will call my third object, which is EMP3. Then I will use the dot operator, and finally you can see that I'm getting all the methods. So if I use get department, I should get the tech department. Let me run this. So before that, let me just comment these things out so that it doesn't confuse you. Okay. So I am just getting this system.out.println, and here employee3.getDepartment. So I should get tech. Let me run this now. Yes, as you can see here, I'm getting the department output. So it is working fine, perfectly. So now I hope you have got an idea of what is class, what are objects, what are its properties, and how to use the set method and the get method, or the setter and the getter methods. So let me just give you a brief overview once again. So these are the properties: name, employee ID, and department, which will be assigned to the instances or objects that we create in a particular class. So this is the syntax. We have to write class keyword followed by the name of the class. This name can be anything, it doesn't matter. And then we have to use the constructor so that we can assign those attributes to the objects that we create. After that, we use the set methods to set the properties to the objects, and then in order to fetch the information from the objects, what we use is the getter methods, which, as you can see here, are mentioned: get name, get employee ID, and get department. And depending on the data type, we will use the return statement. And just because we are using the IntelliJ IDEA IDE, it has the IntelliSense property, so you don't need to worry about that. You just have to worry about the logic of the program. That's it. And the IDE will help you with the syntax and the errors. That's it. We people just have to remember the proper logic. That's it. Then this is the way of instantiating or creating a new object. So bank, this is the class name followed by the name of the object, and we have to use the new keyword. And then what we have to do is we have to use the name of the class once again, and in the parenthesis we have to provide the data or the attributes, which are name, employee ID, and then the department. It can be anything else. Say if I show you one more class, it is my apartment class that I created. Here I have taken some different attributes, which are the name, the BHK category, and the square feet area. So what I mean to say here is, in the class apartment, there will be many apartments. So the name of the apartment, the category, which is, say, 1 BHK, 2 BHK, 3 BHK, and then the square feet area. This is okay. And then again, this is the constructor for this class apartment. And then we have the setter and the getter methods, as you can see here: set BHK category, and then the get name, get BHK category, etc. And finally, here is the main function where we have this object, which is A1. So apartment, as you can see here, this is the name A1, which is a new object assigned with the help of the new keyword to the apartment class. And in the parenthesis, we have all the information. This is the name Salarpuria, and then we have the category 2 BHK, and say the square feet area. We may not be exactly correct, but I have taken it to be 3000 square feet. So if I run this program, then you will see that I'm getting the three properties, which are the name, the BHK category, and the square feet area, as I have used the get name, get BHK category, and the get square feet area methods. So let me run this. So here you can see I'm getting Salalpuria, the 2 BHK category and the square feet area which is 3000. You can just manipulate inside the print statement so that you can get a better version of the output. But just to show you a basic concept of object oriented programming, I have taken it to be simple. That's it. So if you want to create a new class, what you need to do is you have to go to file, then new, and you have to go to this Java class. And suppose you want to make a class for students or you want to make a student management system, so you can take it like this, student. Okay, and press enter. As you can see here, by default it gets saved to the package, and here it is com.saurav. Actually Saurav is the name of my machine. It comes like this. So this is the package, and inside this the class will reside or exist. So this is a basic way of creating a class in Java. I hope you have understood the basic concept of object-oriented programming. In my further videos, I will be taking you through the more complex and important concepts of OOFs in Java, which are abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, and encapsulation. Today, I have given you a brief description of creating a constructor and then using the setter and the getter methods, and finally, how to instantiate or initialize an object. So I hope you have understood. If you really like the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so that you receive notifications regarding our latest updates. Thank you and happy learning. See you in our next session. Bye bye.